Hey everybody out there, Artaboom here. Today we're going to be talking about something that just drives me bonkers. It's something that I myself have done wrong in the past, but whenever I do it, it gives me this pit in my stomach. I've woken up in the middle of the night thinking of what could have gone wrong. And of course I'm talking about safety. So let's get into some of the basics to firearm safety. Oh, and also for safety reasons, make sure you guys know that both of these magazines have no ammo in them. All ammo has been removed from my work environment here, so I know for sure that there's no bullets going to enter into my firearm as I'm going through this discussion today. The number one thing you want to always consider is you make sure you consider every single firearm as loaded. Even if you've triple checked it and you know for sure that there's nothing in the gun, no ammo, you still want to consider it as loaded. That's rule number one. Rule number two is you want to make sure that your primary safety is always on. Now you might be sitting there thinking, well, you know, I have a Glock, and my Glock, it doesn't have a manual safety on it. I'm not talking about a manual safety. I'm talking about your primary safety, your index finger. You never put your index finger on the trigger unless you're ready to actually destroy something. Now for me, typically what I destroy is paper, and I try to destroy steel plates. Doesn't work out too well because they're designed to accept bullets. But so steel targets, paper targets, typically what I destroy. I'll go hunting on the occasion and try to take an animal. But you never point your firearm at anything unless you're ready to destroy it. So assume all firearms are loaded. Have your finger off of the trigger until you're ready to actually fire the weapon. And then what I see happen the most, the biggest error I see with firearm safety is everybody understands, we're like, okay, yeah, I assume all firearms are loaded. Never put your finger on the trigger unless you're ready to shoot it. And then what they do is they'll go like this. They'll take their gun and their buddies over at the house and they're sitting around and they say, hey dude, check out my new gun, man. It's pretty awesome, dude. Check it out. What are they pointing at? They're either pointing at the person, they're pointing at themselves, they're flagging themselves with the firearm. They're doing all this crazy stuff. Take the precautions to make sure that this gun is absolutely not going to go off. So I suggest you do a triple check whenever you're unloading your firearm to make sure it's safe. Now, triple check, I honestly don't know where I heard this from. And all three of my items might be off. I know two of the three are right. But the third one, if it's off, it's still important to know. So number one, we're going to rack it to make sure there's no ammo left inside of it. And then we're going to give a slide lock back. Number two, you're going to give a visual inspection that there's nothing inside the firearm. I look in the chamber, look down the barrel, nothing's there. Now we're never looking down the barrel from the muzzle end. Okay, that's this end here. Never look down from that end. You always look from the breech end right here. So I'm looking down the chamber, looking down the barrel, everything looks good, there's nothing in it. And then I do my third item, which is a finger check. Typically I use a pinky check. I can feel if there's ammo inside of it, there's not. I can feel if there's a magazine inside of it, there is not. There's nothing in this firearm. So when you hand over your firearm to somebody wants to see it, my suggestion, drop the magazine, rack it, make sure it's good to go, pull it back, give it slide lock, visual inspection, finger inspection, looks good, it's all good, then you can go ahead and pass it on to your friend. Now, if you're on the receiving end of that and they don't do it, you need to do it yourself. But if they hand it to you and it's good to go, it's good to go ahead and give a visual inspection and a finger inspection in there just to make sure that he didn't overlook something before you start handling the weapon. Another thing about having the slide locked back. If you're not using the firearm, you're at the firing range, keep the slide lock back and on the table. A lot of shooting ranges will get mad at you if you don't have the breech open when you have guns just sitting around. Either they're in their case or they're on a table with the breech open, with the slide lock back. If you have a revolver, make sure you have that cylinder out. But if you're around the house and you're showing off your weapon, somebody have it open. Now, I get it. If you're going to use it and you're pitting it up somewhere, you don't want the slide open. But if it's just sitting around the house, you're showing some people, you're showing them your several firearms, or you're at the range and you're in between guns, The ones you're not using, go ahead and have the slide open. All right, so now let's move on to another item. Let's say you're going to be doing some dry fire training. Once again, I've checked everything. Everything's safe here. So I'm in my house doing dry fire training. I'm going up here, I'm doing my little trigger pulls, right? Now I'm pulling it to the rear, pushing it to the rear. People, okay, little side note, I don't know which one it is, right? People say pull the trigger, but then you have all these experts like, you gotta push the trigger, you're not pulling the trigger, you're pushing it, push the trigger. I've heard both, okay, whatever. Push the trigger, pull the trigger. Either way, you're moving the trigger. Good. So you're pushing the trigger to the rear. You're doing your practice. You're getting all your practice work in. But one thing you've overlooked is, once again, we're assuming all firearms are loaded, even if you know they're not loaded. Do not point that gun at a wall that has somebody precious that you love on the other side of that wall. Or for that matter, anybody on the other side of the wall. So we're not going to be sitting in our bedroom pointing it at a wall with a baby on the other side of that wall. And that 1 in a million chances that you actually have a live round and you've overlooked something and that gun goes boom, you don't want to be shooting live ammo into your kid's room. Now you sit there and you say, well, you're doing it right now. Yeah, I'm doing it. But guess what? Behind you, what you can't see is a wall. It's a sheetrock wall. On the other side of that sheetrock wall, part of the same wall system is a brick wall. If somehow something crazy were to happen and a bullet leaves my chamber, travels down the barrel, and it finds its terminal resting place, it will not find a terminal resting place anywhere else besides a brick wall. Because that's what I have back there. My suggestions, if you're going to do dry fire training in your house, have it set up to where you're aiming at a wall that has brick on the outside or rock on the outside. Don't point it towards another room that has people inside of it on the other side of the sheetrock, because your ammo will go through sheetrock and wood. Or if you don't have any of those options, try to pick a direction that you don't have any neighbors in. Alright, so if you have neighbors on both sides of you but you don't have anything behind you, that's going to be the safest direction to work on your dry fire training. Once again, this is just an extra precaution just to make sure if anything ever happens, that 1 in a million chance that a bullet comes out of your chamber, remember, you're responsible for the terminal resting place of every round you own. If that terminal resting place is in the body of another person, because you were trying to dry fire practice, it goes through the wall in your house because you don't have brick walls or rock walls or anything like that, goes through the sheetrock of your house, leaves out through your siding, and it hits somebody, you're responsible for that. So take the correct precautions whenever it comes to working with your firearm. Make sure that you triple check. Make sure you assume all firearms are always loaded. Never point a firearm at another human being unless you're willing to deal with the consequences of them of you shooting them and possibly ending their life. And always keep your primary safety on until you are ready to actually pull the trigger. So primary safety on, target acquired, pull the trigger. So hopefully this helps you out today with how to properly handle a firearm and gun safety. If you like this video, go ahead and give us a like down below. We need all the likes we can get. We're trying to get this channel going. If you check us out at artofboom.com, there you're going to find some original artwork. You can buy some art prints. Then also we have some merchandise, and we have more articles on the know-how and the art of boom. So until next time, go out and enjoy your life of boom.